Zion Williamson missing a wide-open alley-oop dunk is unheard of, but that's basically how things went for him last season, which was quite the struggle for him. From getting called fat and overweight to getting ridiculed for looking slow and unconditioned on the court, life wasn't easy for the all-star power forward. But that wasn't always the case for him years ago when he had yet to discover that good old Louisiana home cooking. It was in 2016 when Zion Williamson first started making rounds all over the internet as a viral high school sensation, getting millions of views online. He was a walking man-beast playing against smaller competition in high school. The teenager was dunking on heads, bullying everyone inside the paint, and showcasing unreal athleticism for someone his size. Though there were doubts about whether or not he could dominate college the same way he did in high school, he quickly silenced his critics. Celebrated for his unreal athleticism as a 6'6" power forward with insane hops, Zion was unstoppable in his lone season with the Duke Blue Devils. He averaged 22.6 points and 8.9 rebounds while shooting 68% from the field as a freshman, making older men look like pinballs whenever Zion was launching himself to the basket. The hype was real, and he was truly a beast playing among men because no one could match his combination of size, strength, and explosive athleticism. Men his size aren't supposed to be dunking from the free throw line. Williamson entered the 2019 NBA draft as the most hyped rookie since 2003, when a certain someone named LeBron James was the media darling as an incoming rookie. People were even calling Zion the next coming of LeBron because of his extreme athleticism and powerful dunks in college. Of course, there were a lot of reasons why he was the unquestioned #1 overall pick in 2019 when he got drafted by the New Orleans Pelicans. He may only be 6'6", but he was a generational athlete with the ability to dominate from the get-go. Zion is like a shorter and more mobile version of prime Shaquille O'Neal, and that's saying a lot because we know just how unstoppable the Big Diesel was. At 284 pounds coming into his rookie season, Williamson was a meaty fellow with a large frame that could bully grown men, and with a vertical leap of 45 inches, he was expected to dunk on everyone in the NBA. But while the outlook was positive when he was a rookie, even though he got injured early on, the consensus among different analysts and experts was the same. Zion needed to slim down and lose weight.
Zion Williamson, have you no shame? I saw the brother go to the free throw line. He looked like he had a belly.
It's one thing to be 7 feet tall and weigh 280 pounds, but it's another thing to be 6'6" and weigh close to 300 while moving like a Mack truck. With his playing style as a high-octane athlete ready to run the floor and take off at any given moment, his legs weren't going to last long if he couldn't keep his weight at a manageable level. Despite what the critics were saying about his body when he was a rookie, he claimed that his weight was a blessing instead of a curse.
There's really no comparison to me because I try to add every level to my game. My body's just built different. Some people try to look at it as a weakness, but I look at it as a blessing because people aren't used to guarding this kind of size, and I'm able to add a little finesse to my game so it has flavor, and I feel like I'm a playmaker, so I can create for my teammates, and when I have to finish, I can go finish.
To some extent, he was right. No one in the NBA was used to guarding someone that strong, heavy, mobile, and athletic. The physical toll of putting your body on someone that big can't be compared to anyone in the NBA at that time. But that was different because he was still just a rookie who had yet to discover the joys of spending millions of dollars on the best food that life can offer. And from a long-term standpoint, an overweight player relying heavily on his athleticism has never had the best luck in the NBA. We did see Shaq dominating during his prime years, but he declined quickly when he couldn't manage his weight. Even LeBron James lost weight when he was nearing his 30s because he knew that he had to tone down and stay leaner if he wanted to extend his career, and that worked out great for him. In Zion's case, however, it went downhill for him quickly. His rookie season was already a huge red flag because he missed the early part of that campaign with an injury, and while he became a young all-star at just 20 years old during his second season, foot injuries started plaguing him. He missed an entire season because of a foot injury. Even after coming back healthy during the 2022-23 season, he appeared in only 29 games because of a hamstring injury. people quickly addressed the elephant in the room. By elephant, we mean Zion, because he was clearly not the same muscular and lean athlete we saw in Duke and early in his rookie season. He was getting fatter. He was still listed at 284, but the eye test would tell anyone that he was well over 320 pounds. Charles Barkley knows a thing or two about being fat. He was fat almost his entire life, but he got by in college by throwing his weight around because no one could stop him. But when he got to the NBA, he started questioning why he wasn't getting enough minutes and why he was struggling. The late, great Moses Malone told him frankly that he was fat and lazy. This was a wake-up call for Chuck, as he started working more on his weight and conditioning before becoming one of the biggest stars of the 80s and 90s. Though Barkley is more known for his comedic touch on television, he perfectly summed up Zion Williamson's situation when he said that he looked like he and Shaq had a baby.
Chuck, you had a visceral reaction to this.
It looked like me and Shaq had a baby.
He was talking about all that weight Zion gained while he was recovering from his injury, and it was awkward seeing him ballooning so much that he chose to wear several layers of clothes to hide all that fat. Even the New Orleans Pelicans were well aware of their franchise star's weight problems. His contract extension in 2022 included a weight clause where he was required to keep his weight under 295, or else he could potentially lose millions of dollars. The clause is more of a reminder for Zion to ensure he doesn't forget about the most important part of his game, which is his conditioning. When there's a real fear of not losing a lot of money but also squandering away your entire NBA career, Williamson was supposed to work harder on his diet, and that was one of the things that often ticked him off. He wasn't mad that people were making fun of his weight. Instead, he was angry that people were calling him lazy. He claims that he puts in the work necessary to stay in shape and keep his body weight manageable. Photos of his body during the 2023 offseason clearly showed that he was ripped and in shape heading into the 2023-24 season. But even with the threat of potentially wasting all that money on the table, Zion actually entered the 2023-24 season looking like he had a field day eating all that New Orleans gumbo. He wasn't necessarily fatter than ever, but there were clear signs that he had conditioning problems. Williamson didn't move with the same fluidity and explosiveness he became known for, and it was clear that he was a bit too heavy to be playing at a high level for a team that wanted to compete for a playoff spot. Shaquille O'Neal is a lot like Charles Barkley because he went through different phases of being overweight throughout his career. In fact, it is widely believed that the feud between him and the late great Kobe Bryant started when he showed up to training camp incredibly overweight because he overindulged during the regular season. But even Shaq believes in the importance of staying in shape and keeping your conditioning up. He said that Zion is the biggest wild card on the New Orleans Pelicans roster because this team can only go far if he becomes more assertive.
Zion is the wild card. Once he learns how to make an impact on the game, like I said earlier, and dominate, more than 6 rebounds, more than 25, 26 points, and play with force every time. Sprint, easy buckets, dunks, jump hooks. Right now, he's a little too inconsistent for me right now.
Someone of his talent should be aggressive at running the floor and attacking the basket. Kenny Smith added to what Shaq said about Zion learning how to put his imprint on the game and become more dominant on a regular basis. He said what everyone in the league noticed, and that was the fact that Williamson was not in basketball shape.
What happens when you're not in basketball shape, you're just not in the plays that you should be in. So instead of sprinting back where because of his athleticism, he could have blocked the shot, he can't get there. Because of his not being in the proper basketball shape, sometimes you can't dart into the passing lane and get the steal. You can't get the deflection, which causes the offense to stagnate on the other team. So he's missing out on plays that he would make a significant impact.
The real revelation came during the semifinals of the 2023 in-season tournament when the Pelicans faced the Lakers. LeBron, who was about to turn 39 that season, looked like the younger man when compared to the 23-year-old Zion. The oldest player in the league thoroughly outplayed Williamson in terms of his stats and energy level. Stephen A. Smith, ever the outspoken critic, didn't hold anything back by calling Zion Williamson fat after the Pelicans lost to the Lakers. He saw what everyone saw, which was an old LeBron outplaying a much younger man by scoring 30 points in 3 quarters in what was a blowout performance for the Lakers. On the other hand, Zion looked lazy and uninterested all game long, prompting the outspoken critic to make fun of his belly. But more than that, he openly criticized the fact that Zion doesn't seem to be interested in taking over a game, even though he's supposed to be the most talented player on that Pelicans team.
Ladies and gentlemen, I saw a belly. A belly. Like when he took a deep breath, his belly bounced. That kind of belly. Damn. What's up, Zion? It better not you got your ass kicked, losing by 44 points playing semifinals. Did nothing to lead and galvanize your team. Did nothing to show the man-child that you are and to take over. But you look like you showed up to the game having just ate a buffet. Not something from the buffet. I said the buffet.
It's one thing to be overweight, but it's totally another thing to lack the killer instinct and aggressiveness of a franchise player in an important game. Stephen A. took it further a few days later when he claimed that every chef in New Orleans is excited about having Zion as a guest because of his infamous eating habits.
The conditioning. I saw the brother go to the free throw line. He looked like he had a belly. He looked like he had a belly. It is shameful. You got chefs in New Orleans. I'm not exaggerating. I'm quoting people. You got chefs in New Orleans who love him. They're looking for him. Every chef there wants to meet him, because they know he'll show up to their restaurant. The word out on Zion Williamson is that he'll eat the table. I'm quoting. He'll eat the table. What in the hell is going on with Zion Williamson?
Though he was at his healthiest after playing 70 games for the first time in his career, he looked like he was 10 years older because of how slow and awkward he looked at times. He averaged 22.9 points while shooting a career-low 57% from the field. At times, he didn't look like he had the same legs that allowed him to basically bounce off the floor and push people around the paint with his weight and explosiveness. The numbers don't lie at all, and there was another stat that could surprise you. In the 24 games he played as a rookie, he had 58 dunks, which comprised 17.8% of his shot selection. During his first All-Star season, that number went up to 123, as 13% of his shots were dunks. But during the 2023-24 season, that number dipped to 78 dunks the entire season, as only 8% of his shots were throwdowns. He was more likely to lay the ball in or use his soft touch around the basket instead of being forceful. Granted that he may have been trying to preserve himself because he knows that dunking or being too forceful could aggravate his injuries, but it also showed a bit of passiveness from a man who's supposed to be so dominant and athletic that he could dunk the ball at will. Zion knows and hears everything people have been saying about him. He's heard the stuff that Shaq and Chuck said about his conditioning or lack thereof. He fully understands what's at stake here, even as people are wondering why he just can't keep his weight down.
If it comes from a great place and a place where they just want to see me do better, thank you. But if it comes from anywhere else, everybody entitled to their own opinion. Can't control that.
But there were clear signs he was making good strides near the end of the 2023-24 season when he averaged 24.7 points in his final 20 games. Yes, it was a conditioning problem that held him back earlier, but the good news was that he was actually working hard enough to get back in shape, especially with the positive development he showed late. He even scored 40 points against the Lakers in the play-in tournament despite overexerting himself and getting injured in the process. But the aggressiveness and willingness to compete was there for him, and that's a welcome development for the Pelicans and a surprising turn of events for his critics. Both Shaq and Chuck were impressed with that 40-point output, saying that he was now showing what he could do as the team's best player during important stretches.
I was very impressed. I hate to see him go down like that, but now that we see what he can do, in order to be a great player, he has to continue this.
I think tonight, this is my first time I said, yo man, this dude might be a star.
But while Zion kept himself out of the spotlight, unlike in 2023 when his off-court issues surfaced all over the internet, fans were happy and surprised to see a different version of the All-Star forward. A photo of him taking photos with kids during his basketball camp showed that he's clearly a lot skinnier. It's not a trick of the camera or anything, because he's taking a photo with 2 small kids without looking like he just cleaned the buffet table. Fans, of course, were making fun of him by calling him Ozempic Zion, claiming he used weight loss pills to shed all that unwanted fat. Whether or not he used Ozempic is a different story, but it's clear that this young man wanted to lose weight and quietly worked his way into the best shape of his entire life. Of course, his biggest critic went on to openly congratulate him for finally putting in the work.
I'm proud of Zion. I'm proud of Zion.
But one thing's clear. If Zion could stay in that shape throughout the 2024-25 season, scary things are coming. True, he might lose a bit of the strength that made him incredibly dominant inside the paint. He's also going to struggle throwing his body around a bit, but he's going to trade all that for longevity, health, and conditioning. When he's running the floor at full speed and dunking the ball before any big man could get back on defense, it matters little whether or not he could bully his defender in the paint. If he's available all year long and is playing at 100% without feeling tired and anemic, he may not mind not being able to take up the same space he used to take inside the lane when he was fat. This is probably Zion clapping back at all the haters and critics calling him fat and lazy. Call it the Zion Williams revenge tour, if you will. And this is a stern warning to the rest of the league that he's coming to regain that all-star status he lost a year ago. This is the version of Zion everyone has been waiting for since he entered the league in 2019. And if he can stay in shape his entire career, we're all excited to see what he can bring to the NBA in the future.